Working in construction can be dangerous. Employees work in hazardous environments with exposures to falls, powered and heavy equipment, and chemicals. Statistics show that construction workers have a greater chance of being injured or killed on the job from these types of hazards. Before you step on the job site, be familiar with the basic safety hazards and understand how to protect yourself. Safety is everyone's responsibility on the job site. Workers must follow all safe work practices and applicable OSHA rules. They must immediately look for hazards and report all injuries or near misses and any hazardous conditions. Workers must keep work areas, walkways, and stairs clean and free of trash, debris, tools, and materials to prevent tripping, and take adequate precautions when working in very hot temperatures, including frequently drinking cool water and taking breaks in the shade. Personal protective equipment, or PPE, is designed to protect workers from serious workplace injuries, and using PPE is essential. Always use the appropriate PPE, such as wearing a hard hat, safety glasses, safety boots and gloves, as well as high visibility clothing and hearing protection, and even respirators when required, in the manner that they were designed. Ensure the PPE is maintained in good condition and replaced when damaged or lost. Falling is the #1 cause of serious work-related injury and death in construction. The best way to prevent a fall is to inspect the work area and ensure all fall exposures are adequately protected. Workers exposed to fall hazards 6 feet or more above a lower level, such as a leading edge, floor holes or wall openings and roofs, must be protected by a fall protection system. Fall protection systems can be temporary or permanent guardrails, safety nets, hole covers, or personal fall arrest systems. A competent or qualified person must oversee the installation of the fall protection systems. Don't work around unprotected floor and wall openings or skylights, and never walk the top plate of a wall unless using the right fall protection equipment. Protect workers from falling objects by securing all tools, equipment, and materials when working on an elevated surface or restricted access to areas where a fall or drop hazard exists. While it appears non-threatening, a ladder can be a major hazard. Ladder safety starts with choosing the right ladder for the job, ensuring it is in good condition, and setting it up properly. For extension ladders, set it on stable, level surface at the proper angle. Extend it 3 feet above the landing surface to provide a handhold, and secure it at the top or bottom to prevent movement. When using step ladders, always set it up per manufacturer's instruction. Never lean a step ladder unless the manufacturer has designed it for that purpose, and never stand on the top 2 steps of a step ladder. When climbing, face the ladder and maintain 3 points of contact. And remember, when working on ladders, don't overreach. Some workers will need to work on scaffolds, so you must be trained and understand the hazards before setting up, using, or dismantling scaffolding. Don't work from anything not designed for that purpose, such as standing on a 5-gallon bucket, because makeshift scaffolds are never acceptable. Scaffolds must be erected, dismantled, and inspected before use under the supervision of a competent person. And for scaffolds 10 feet and higher, you must add guardrails or wear a personal fall arrest system. Electricity can be extremely dangerous and can cause burns, shocks, and death from electrocution. Anyone working with electricity must follow basic safety rules. Never work on energized or hot electrical circuits until all the power has been shut off and locked and tagged out. And remember to stay at least 10 feet from overhead power lines. Make sure to inspect all electrical tools and cords before starting work and remove any damaged equipment. Protect temporary power, including all extension cords and generators, with approved ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, to protect against shock. And always use caution when working near electricity, and never use power strips on the job site. Using proper lifting techniques when handling heavy materials, tools, and equipment can prevent back injuries. First, do not lift anything over 50 pounds without assistance. Next, bend at the knees as you lift the load, keeping it close to your body. Lift with your legs, not your back. Finally, be careful not to twist your body during the lift. Cave-ins pose a great risk to workers who have to perform trenching and excavation operations. First, you should call 811 a few business days before you begin any digging, so buried utilities can be located and marked. Excavations and utility trenches 5 feet deep or greater require a protective system, either sloping, benching the soil, or using a trench box. Never enter a trench unless you have been trained and the competent person determines it is safe. Have the competent person inspect trenches and excavations daily and correct hazards before anyone enters. Tools and equipment are so common on construction sites, it's easy to forget how many hazards they pose. Never operate tools or equipment unless properly trained on each type of tool. Ensure all tools and equipment are in safe operating condition, including making sure guards are in place, and inspect them before each use. And always wear the right personal protective equipment such as head, eye, hand, and hearing protection. Finally, stay clear of backing and turning vehicles and mobile equipment. Construction materials and chemicals pose a wide range of hazards on job sites. Understand the dangers of hazardous materials such as caulks, paints, glues, and sealants by reading the labels and the safety data sheets. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for handling, use, and storage of hazardous chemicals. And always wear the proper personal protective equipment according to the label or SDS recommendations, such as respirator, eye protection, and gloves. As you become familiar with these important safety basics, it's up to you to follow the rules and work safely, because safety is everyone's responsibility.
Hi. Welcome back to another HSEbox.com video. In this video, we will talk about the top 10 safety hazards in construction. Before we continue, do you know that subscribe to our channel is free? And drop a like, it's free as well? I hope you did it. That will encourage us to make more videos like this. Thank you. A construction site is an area of land where roads, buildings, or some forms of infrastructure are being built or renovated. Working on a construction site will mean you will be working with or alongside large operational plant machinery and tools, working at height and in environments where hazardous materials may be present. Because of the nature of the work, construction is one of the most dangerous industries in the world. The dangers in construction are heavily dependent on the type of construction work that is being carried out. For example, working with asbestos presents entirely different hazards from working at heights. So, let's jump into the first hazard. Number 1, working at heights.
Working from heights is the most common cause of fatal injuries to workers. The HSE estimated that 47% of worker fatalities were due to a fall from height. All employees who work at height need suitable training in working on different pieces of equipment, and such work must be planned appropriately. Safety approaches and precautions should be adopted, such as: where practical, avoid the need to work at height. Put collective measures in place where working at height can't be avoided to prevent falls, such as the use of equipment to provide an extra level of safety to reduce the risk of a fall. For example, a scaffold with a double guard rail or edge protection. Minimize the consequences of a fall by providing a safety net. Wear the necessary PPE such as a safety harness.
Number 2, moving objects.
The HSE report that 12% of incidents on site are due to being struck by a moving vehicle or object. A construction site is an ever-changing environment, with many objects moving around, often on uneven terrain. Delivery vehicles, heavy plant machinery, and overhead lifting equipment pose a hazard to site workers and operators. Sites should always be planned to manage plant and pedestrian interface where physical barriers and suitable segregation is in place. To reduce risks, workers should Never stand behind large operating plant machinery and never stand under suspended loads. Avoid working close to moving objects and be careful of their surroundings, especially if they do not have lights or beepers. Always ensure you have a banksman to guide plant vehicles when reversing or maneuvering on a public road. Always wear PPE, personal protective equipment, such as a hard hat and high visibility jacket to ensure you are seen.
Number 3, slips, trips, and falls.
Slips, trips, and falls can happen in almost any environment. And, in construction, there are slightly fewer incidents of these kinds of injuries than in other industries. The HSE reports that around a quarter of injuries reported are due to slips, trips, and falls. As construction sites often have uneven terrain and the topography is forever changing, it is unsurprising that slips, trips, and falls are common hazards. HSE reports that several thousand construction workers are injured every year following a slip or trip. Most of these could be avoided by effectively managing working areas and access routes, such as excavations and footpaths. Managers and black hats, site supervisors, on construction sites must effectively manage the site so that workers can move around it safely. Risks should always be reported and sorted to reduce the chances of injury. To reduce harm due to slips, trips, and falls, you should ensure that all operatives are provided with obstruction-free access and egress to their working areas. Keep work and storage areas tidy and designate specific areas for waste collection. Where surfaces are slippery with mud, they should be treated with stone. Where surfaces are slippery with ice, they should be treated with grit. All slippery areas should be signposted, and footwear with a good grip should be worn.
Number 4, noise.
Working around loud, excessive, and repetitive noise can cause long-term hearing problems, such as deafness. Noise can also be a dangerous distraction and may distract the worker from the task at hand, which can cause accidents. A comprehensive noise risk assessment should be carried out where the risk assessment has highlighted a noise hazard with the works to be undertaken.
Number 5, hand-arm vibration syndrome.
HAVS, hand-arm vibration syndrome, is a debilitating and painful disease of the blood vessels, nerves, and joints. It is typically caused by the continued use of handheld power tools, including vibratory power tools and ground working equipment. There are nearly 2 million people at risk of developing HAVS, resulting in the inability to do fine work, and cold temperatures can trigger painful attacks on the fingers. Once the damage is done, it is permanent. HAVS is preventable if construction works are correctly planned to minimize exposure to vibration during work and workers are monitored or given appropriate protection when using vibrating tools and equipment.
Number 6, material handling, manual and equipment.
Materials and equipment are constantly being lifted and moved around construction sites, whether manually or by equipment. Either way, handling carries a degree of risk. For manual handling, training must be provided to ensure employees can lift and carry materials safely. For lifting equipment handling, there are lots of risks, especially when operating lifting equipment on uneven ground. If an employee is required to use lifting equipment, they must be trained to operate the equipment safely, and a regular test should be taken to check their ability to use the equipment. Always check your plant is fit for use and that it's certificated and inspected before use.
Number 7, excavations.
Incidents commonly occur within excavations on construction sites, such as an unsupported excavation collapsing with workers inside. Here are some safety measures that need to be put in place to prevent excavations from collapsing and to reduce the risk of operatives falling into excavations. Never work in an unsupported excavation. Ensure an excavation is supported and fully secure. Regularly inspect the excavation both before and during the work shift. Always check that the edge protection of the excavation is 100% intact before you enter it. Always maintain a safe distance from the edge of all deep excavations.
Number 8, asbestos.
An estimated 500,000 public buildings in the UK are thought to contain asbestos. Asbestos kills around 5,000 workers per year, and an average of 20 tradespeople die every week due to past exposure. Asbestos is a naturally occurring fiber that was used up until the late 1990s in the UK. There are 3 types of asbestos fibers commonly used in the UK. These are blue, crossodolite, brown, amazite, and white, chrysotile. When asbestos is damaged, it releases these fibers into the air, and once inhaled, these fibers can cause severe and fatal diseases such as lung cancer, asbestosis, and pleural thickening. Workers on construction sites must be trained to understand what to do should they come across any suspicious materials that may contain asbestos. If there is asbestos on the construction site, workers must be informed of where it is and how to handle it safely. When handling asbestos, you need to wear fully regulated PPE equipment at all times to prevent fibers from being inhaled or absorbed through the skin.
Number 9. Electricity.
HSE reports that 1,000 electrical accidents at work occur every year. Most of these accidents arise from contact with overhead or underground power cables and electrical equipment/machinery. In civil engineering, strikes against services are common. The strikes happen when excavation is undertaken without adequately checking the ground for existing services. Consequently, incidents can easily be avoided by using technology such as CAT and Jenny scanning equipment to scan an area and foresee potential services and prevent service strikes.
Number 10. Airborne fibers and materials.
Unsurprisingly, a lot of dust is produced on construction sites. This dust is often an invisible, thin, and toxic mixture of hazardous materials and fibers. This can damage the lungs and lead to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, asthma, silicosis, and other such diseases. All employers have to ensure protective equipment is used.
We hope this video helps you to improve your knowledge regarding the hazard on a construction site. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments section below, and we are happy to help you. Check our channel for more safety topics. The link is in the description. Never forget, safety is your responsibility. Stay safe always. Bye bye, see you soon.
Being safe on the worksite is all about thinking and paying attention to what you're doing. Looking out for others is how we can all get home in one piece at the end of the day.
And no matter who you work for, we all need to be following the same safety rules. And that's what we're going to be talking about in the next few minutes.
So let's start with what you'll be wearing. You've got to be properly dressed at the worksite.
At a minimum, that means hard hat, long pants, heavy-duty work boots with a non-skid sole, a shirt with sleeves, a safety vest or bright-colored shirt, and eye protection. Check your hard hat to make sure that it's in good condition. If there's tears in the suspension or holes in it, you'll need a new one.
During the course of a normal workday, you may be exposed to different types of eye hazards, including flying particles, sparks, or chemical splashes. You need to be wearing eye protection at all times. That means safety glasses, goggles, a full face shield, or a combination of the 3. There are lots of jobs that require you to be wearing a full face shield over your safety glasses or goggles. And if you're cutting or welding, you'll need to have special eye protection.
Hearing protection is essential to protect you from noise. If it's hard to hear a person 3 feet away without them yelling, you need hearing protection. There are 2 types of hearing protections available: earplugs and earmuffs. In some cases, you may need to wear both.
You never get used to the loud noise. If you continue to be exposed to it, it can cause permanent damage to your hearing.
You also need the right kind of work gloves. Heavy-duty gloves will protect against rough or sharp edges, abrasive surfaces, and splinters. A lot of people don't realize that wet concrete can hurt your skin. It can cause serious burns and skin irritations, so you need to wear rubber gloves when working with concrete. And also be sure that you've got rubber boots on. If your hands or any part of your skin comes into contact with wet concrete, you need to wash the area immediately. And if you're doing anything with acids, corrosives, or solvents, you really need to be wearing the right kind of gloves.
It's a good idea to remove rings or other kind of jewelry that can catch on a corner and cause an injury. And if you're wearing a chain around your neck, it needs to be under your shirt. And if you've got long hair, it needs to be up under your hard hat. Both these things so you don't get caught in any revolving equipment.
There's a lot of heavy equipment in use on our projects, all with different hazards. Your safety vest or shirt helps make you visible to equipment operators. And no matter where you are, pay attention to your surroundings. Getting hit by a piece of equipment or a crane load is one of the leading causes of construction site fatalities.
You're required to attend weekly toolbox talks to discuss safety on the job. This toolbox talk is for you. If you have a question or a comment about safety, the toolbox talk is a great time to bring it up.
One other thing you need to be aware of is our drug and alcohol policy. It's pretty simple. We don't want you working while you're under the influence of drugs and alcohol. It's dangerous for you, and it's dangerous for everybody around you. There are times when a company might require you to take a drug or alcohol test. If you're injured or involved in some kind of accident, you will be required to take a test. It's not optional. It's on company time, and it's required.
If you test positive or refuse to take a test, you will be subject to disciplinary action, up to and including discharge.
And just so we're clear, there's no weapons of any kind permitted on the job site.
The Project Crisis and Emergency Response Plan tells you what to do if there's an emergency such as a natural disaster, a fire, a hazardous material spill, or some other kind of incident. The people who have incident commander or emergency coordinator vests are not only there to assist in the event of a crisis, but also to help answer questions or report potential hazards, quality issues, or near misses.
Other than police or other emergency personnel, they are the only people who should be giving you directions during an emergency. Don't start doing things unless you're told by a person with one of those vests on.
All injuries need to be reported. That way we can make sure and get you all the help that you need.
Likewise, if you have a near miss, that needs to be reported so we can learn from it and keep it from happening again.
There's a lot of tasks that require you to be wearing a respirator. You've got to know the materials you're working with and make sure you have the right respirator for the job. Respirators will protect you from overexposure to dust, mist, and fumes and must be matched for the exposure. If you're not sure what type of respirator is needed for the task, have your foreman contact the safety department for assistance.
The most common respirator you will use is a dust mask. Regardless of the type of respirator you use, the mask has to have a good seal around the face. This is accomplished by being clean shaven, using both head straps and adjusting the nose piece to fit your nose. And if you're near an operation where workers are wearing respirators, you may also need to be protected.
Nearly 1,000 construction workers are killed each year on the job. That's more than 3 workers every day, and about a third of those are because of falls. All of those can and should be prevented. Any place that there's a potential fall of more than 6 feet, you need to be protected. It doesn't matter if it's an opening in the floor or around the outside of a building. The most common type of fall protection is a guardrail. Guardrails need to be constructed of either wood or wire rope and have a top rail that's 42 inches off the ground, a mid-rail, and a toe board. If you remove a guardrail, alternate fall protection must be used, and never leave an area unprotected for any period of time. You must reinstall the guardrail before you leave the area. If you're working at an elevation where guardrails don't provide enough protection, such as off a ladder near an open-sided floor, you also need to wear fall protection gear.
Another common form of fall protection is a personal fall arrest system. This includes a harness, a lanyard or retractable lifeline, and an attachment point. You've got to inspect your harness daily for cuts, tears, and frayed straps. Buckles, snap hooks, and safety latches all need to be looked at any time you put on a harness. If anything is broken or damaged, don't use it. Give it to your foreman so that nobody else uses it either.
To put on a fall protection harness, start by securing your waist buckle, then the chest buckle, next the 2 leg buckles, and finally, recheck everything to make sure that they're tight.
The most important part of a fall arrest system is the attachment point. A general rule of thumb is that the anchorage point must be capable of supporting twice the maximum load. Most fall protection manufacturers say that means at least 3,600 pounds. If you're not sure if the anchorage point can hold that much, ask your foreman. Always try to tie off above your head and make sure you limit your fall to no more than 6 feet.
When you're climbing a wall or column, you either need to use a retractable lifeline or utilize a double tie-off. The retractable lifeline, some people call it a yo-yo, will generally be attached to the upper part of the wall or scaffold, so all you have to do is attach it to your harness and start climbing.
And when you're done, remember to attach the lifeline to the base of the column so it will be there for the next person to use. If you don't have a retractable lifeline, then you need to use the double tie-off method. To do that, you need 2 lanyards.
If you're climbing a form using 2 lanyards, you start by tying off as high as possible with the first one. Climb until that tie-off point is waist high, then take the second lanyard and tie off again as high as you can before unhooking the one at your waist. Climb again until the tie-off point is waist high and continue the process until you reach your work area. And then reverse the process to come back down.
And finally, controlled access zones or warning lines and barricades are used to prevent people from coming near a fall hazard. You need to be using fall protection when you're inside the unprotected area.
Before you use a ladder, inspect it to make sure it doesn't have any broken rungs or cracked or split side pieces. If it does, don't use it. Take it out of service. Before you start climbing, check to make sure that the ladder is set on a sound base and the side braces are locked. And don't ever use the top 2 steps to stand on. If you're on an extension ladder, then the ladder hooks need to be properly set and the ladder has to be tied off. When you're climbing, always use both hands. Tools or materials need to be pulled up in a bucket or by a rope. It's the safest way to go up and down a ladder, and you'll always have at least one hand on the ladder. And be sure to face the rungs or steps when you're working off or climbing up or down a ladder.
There are lots of holes on a job site. They may be a few inches in diameter to several feet across. You got to make sure they're marked and covered properly. Otherwise, it's a serious safety hazard. Building a proper hole cover is only half the job. You've got to make sure it's secure, that it won't move, and that it's marked clearly.
A lot of jobs will require you to work on a scaffold.
You need to inspect it yourself. Make sure that it's on a solid footing and that it's level. And if it's more than 2 sections high, it needs to be tied off. And then the other thing that you really want to be sure of is whether the planking and supports are in good condition and the boards are secure.
And make sure guardrails are in place on any open sides and that there are cross braces. Delivering a quality project really takes a team effort. Every single part of the building is important. The quality of the concrete pour that you may be working on today impacts the quality that occurs later on, such as flooring, millwork, and equipment installation.
Just about every project that you work on is going to have a series of mock-ups constructed. There may be a 3D computer model that we'll use in our pre-installation meetings, but there will also be full-size mock-ups like this one. A wall mock-up lets us practice what we're going to build and make sure that we have all the details completely worked out.
If there's a mock-up for your part of the work, you need to review it with your supervisor to make sure you understand exactly how things are put together. Otherwise, you may end up having to tear it out and do it again. Make sure you review the drawings and manufacturer's installation guidelines with your supervisor before starting your work.
The number one problem we typically find during quality inspections is someone did not follow the manufacturer's instructions. Every product is different, and manufacturers change their installation procedures a lot. Always have a copy of their instructions available to keep you straight.
We try to cover most of this during the pre-installation meetings, and sometimes we'll even have computer-generated sequence details to show you layer by layer how things go together. Don't be shy about asking questions. We'd rather solve issues early than find a problem later.
Quality inspections are part of our normal routine. The people reviewing your work are not out to get you. They're just part of the team that's trying to prevent problems and make sure we're delivering quality construction. If you see something that doesn't appear right, tell your supervisor and let's make it right. If you've got questions about how to do something, ask the quality assurance manager assigned to the project.
Anytime that ductwork is stored on site, it needs to be kept off the floor and the ends need to be covered over. It's important that the ends are sealed, both before they're installed and then after they're in place. If we don't do that, then dirt and dust can get inside them and spread all over the building. We always wipe down the inside of ducts before they're put in place so that they are really clean.
Once we finish work in an area, we want to protect it. If you are in an area where you see work that has been covered to protect it, be extra careful. And if you see something that has gotten damaged, report it to your foreman.
Most job sites will also have a lot of trenches that we need for underground utilities or foundation. Anytime that you are working in a trench or confined excavation that's more than 5 feet deep, it has to be braced, shored, or sloped back. This includes the area between the foundation wall and earth bank. Even a large foundation excavation can become a trench once we start putting in formwork or walls.
Any excavation must be inspected every day before anyone goes into it. Do not enter a trench until a competent person has done the inspection. Most often, this will be the foreman of the team that dug the trench. Never go down into an open trench unless the excavation is properly shored, not even for a minute. Otherwise, there's the chance that if the soil gives way, you'll be buried and either be crushed or suffocate before we can dig you out. And there should always be a ladder or a ramp within 25 feet of where you're working.
It is important that you understand how to lift properly so you don't hurt your back. When you lift something, keep the load as close to your body as possible. Keep your back straight and lift with your legs. When you're carrying something heavy, don't make sudden or rapid movements, and watch out for anything that might make you suddenly have to stop or change direction. And remember to be careful when you put something down. Use your legs to lower it, not your back.
Just about everybody will use small hand tools sometime during their shift. If you're not familiar with a tool that you need to use, don't use it until you're properly trained.
The first thing to do is to really inspect the tool. Check all guards to make sure that they operate freely and don't hang up or stick. And if there's cuts, nicks, or damage to power cords, or if the grounding pin is missing on the plug, the tool needs to be taken out of service.
Electrical tools need to be grounded or double insulated. Ground fault circuit interrupters must also be provided if the tool is connected to temporary power. That includes an extension cord plugged into a permanent outlet.
And make sure that any power tool is disconnected from the outlet before you start changing attachments or making repairs.
One of the most important things to do when you're using a skill saw is to adjust the base plate to the right thickness. That way, you're less likely to have the saw kick back and hurt you.
If you're using an air compressor, you need to be sure that the hose connections are secured with a clip or tie wire. Otherwise, hoses can pop off when you're not expecting it, and it's easy for someone to get hurt.
And if you're running gasoline-powered equipment, you need to be sure that you've got good ventilation, since it'll be putting out carbon monoxide, which can be really bad or even fatal in a confined area.
And don't use a specialty piece of equipment, such as a laser or powder-actuated tool, unless you've had the proper training.
And while we're talking about electrical hazards, don't ever go to an electrical panel and start tripping breakers. There may be someone on the other end of that circuit who could be injured. So don't start throwing switches unless you know exactly what you're doing.
Someone dies from a fire every 3 hours. Most of the people die as a result of inhalation of hazardous fumes from burning materials. If you're doing any kind of cutting, welding, or anything with an open flame, you need to have a hot work permit. Those permits can be found in the J.E. Dunn trailer.
All combustible materials must be removed within the vicinity of the work. If materials cannot be removed, they must be covered with fire blankets. A fire extinguisher must be available and a fire watch posted while you're doing the work and for a minimum of 30 minutes after you're done.
Gasoline and other flammable liquids need to be stored in approved safety cans, and the cans have to be labeled so you know what's in them. If you're fueling a piece of equipment, it's got to be turned off, and you can't be smoking while you're refueling it.
Oxygen and acetylene bottles need to be chained in an upright position away from any possible ignition source. It doesn't matter if they're full or empty, they need to be treated the same. Different gases must be separated and stored a minimum of 20 feet apart or have a 1-hour firewall separating them.
You always need to know the location of the nearest fire extinguisher and make sure that you can get to it, otherwise it doesn't do you much good when you need it. Check the extinguisher to see if it is charged, but don't test it by squeezing the handle. Once you start doing that, the pressure will bleed off and it won't work when you need it. If you need to use an extinguisher, remember the word PASS. It stands for pull the pin, aim the nozzle, squeeze the handle, and sweep the nozzle across the base of the fire. And unless it's a really, really small fire, the very first thing you should do is let other people know there's a fire.
Water can cause all sorts of problems. What happens is that moisture can actually get into the materials, which can start mold growing. And if that happens, it's a big problem.
First, we clean it up. Then we check all the finished materials, the drywall, trim, or cabinets. We have to be sure that there's not any water damage to the underlying material.
If you see wet or damaged material, tell your foreman. Don't pretend that it's not there. Otherwise, we may end up with mold starting to grow in the building. We'd rather take out damaged material than risk a problem. The bottom line is that water on the job site is bad. Clean it up or tell your supervisor when you see water that doesn't belong. The exterior skin of a building will only function the right way if all the parts are properly installed. If you see something like torn flashing, missing or damaged building paper, or simply something that just doesn't seem right, stop your work and notify your supervisor. We need to get it fixed before it's covered up, otherwise it's likely to cause problems later on. Poor housekeeping is the main cause of slips and trips on projects, so the last thing to do before we head home for the day is to make sure we leave the job site as clean as possible. You're responsible for keeping your job area clean. Scrap, debris, trash, and anything else that might be a tripping hazard needs to be picked up and thrown in the trash, including anything that's on stairs, scaffolds, ramps, walkways, and all other work areas. And if you see trash in the wall cavities, ductwork, or other enclosed spaces, pick it up. Don't leave it for someone to find later.
We prohibit discrimination against any employee on the basis of race, color, sex, religion, veteran status, sexual orientation, national origin, age, disability, or handicap. We will not tolerate harassment or intimidation in any form. If you feel like you're being harassed, report it to any one of the site supervisors. If somebody is using offensive language or catcalls towards other workers or people passing by the site, that's a problem and we want to know about it. Our goal is to make sure that we all have the opportunity to succeed at work.
So that's it. That's a lot to remember.
But the most important thing is to think about what you're doing. Focus on your work, ask for help when you need it, and keep an eye out on the worker next to you so that you can both go home safe.
We're almost done here, but there's one more thing we want you to see before you go to work.
Working in trenches and excavations is among the most hazardous of construction operations, and trench cave-ins or collapses pose a serious threat to workers' lives. An excavation is any man-made cut into the Earth's surface that is formed by earth removal. A trench is a narrow excavation with a depth greater than its width, but is no wider than 15 feet. Using protective systems and safe work practices can minimize trenching hazards for workers. The biggest risk workers face during trenching and excavation work is the risk of death from soil caving in. But other potential hazards do exist, including workers falling into a trench, hazardous atmospheres caused by toxic gases, fumes, or vapors entering the trench, materials or objects falling into an excavation, such as dirt removed from a trench or tools and materials, damaged underground utilities that can expose workers to explosive or hazardous atmospheres, or electrocution or even drowning, and incidents involving mobile equipment, such as being struck by an excavator. To minimize these hazards, pre-planning must take place prior to digging to ensure safe trenching and excavation operations. Before beginning any excavation, a job site evaluation must be conducted by a competent person, which includes evaluating soil conditions to determine their stability, locating and marking existing underground utilities, which can be done by calling 811, the nationwide call before you dig service, choosing the proper protective systems to prevent cave-ins, providing a safe means of entering and exiting the trench or excavation, testing for hazardous atmospheres inside the trench, identifying overhead power lines and maintaining proper safe distances, and planning for traffic control near the work area. The competent person is responsible for the safety of workers in a trench or excavation, and must inspect them daily to identify and eliminate any hazardous conditions before any worker can even enter. This is because the conditions of the trench may change daily, such as after a rainstorm. Weight of soil can vary, but a good rule of thumb is that 1 cubic yard of soil can weigh approximately 3,000 pounds. And dirt falling 6 feet can hit a worker with as much force as a pickup truck going 35 miles per hour. Therefore, all workers who enter a trench or excavation more than 5 feet deep must be protected by sloping or benching of the earth, or by shoring or shielding under the direction of the competent person. Let's take a look at each protective system. Sloping involves cutting back the trench wall at an angle inclined away from the excavation. Unless a trench is in solid rock, the walls shouldn't be vertical without support. If the dirt is granular and breaks up easily, the trench wall needs to be sloped back farther than if the trench were in clay or a more stable material. For trenches up to 20 feet in depth, you'll need a slope of 1.5 feet back for every 1 foot down, or 34 degrees, in type C soil, which is granular, sandy, and the least stable. This includes most previously disturbed soils. The maximum allowable slope is 1:1, or a 45-degree angle for soils that meet type B requirements. And the maximum slope for type A soils, such as clay, is 3/4:1, or an angle of 53 degrees. Benching is like sloping, but the sides are vertical and then cut like steps. Just like sloping, this method depends on the type and condition of the dirt. You can sometimes use a combination of sloping and benching, but benching cannot be done in type C soil. A lot of jobs have very limited space and don't have room to slope or bench the sides of the soil back. That's when protection like shielding or shoring should be used. Hydraulic shoring may be used on the job instead of sloping. This prefabricated strut and rail system, manufactured from aluminum or steel that supports the faces of the trench, is designed to prevent cave-ins. All hydraulic shoring must be designed and set up in accordance with OSHA regulations, manufacturer specifications, or engineer's designs. If the trench is 5 feet or deeper, hydraulic shores must be installed and removed without workers entering the trench. A trench box or shield is another option to keep the walls from collapsing. Trench boxes are a frequently used protective system for utility line installations, such as lateral lines. They also provide protection to workers inside the trench when sloping cannot be used. It's usually one piece, so it's easier to install than other shoring systems. Once the trench is dug, the box is placed in the hole, and the sides of the box support the walls of the trench. The box should be in good condition and be the right kind for the depth and soil type of the trench. When they are used correctly, the sides will be secure and keep workers safe inside the protective system. Regardless of the type of trench or excavation, following these additional work practices will help ensure the safety of workers. Provide a safe way to enter and exit a trench or excavation that is 4 feet or deeper, such as with ladders, steps, or ramps. If you use a ladder, make sure it's no more than 25 feet away from you so you can get to it quickly when needed. Keep excavated dirt, called spoils, as well as materials and heavy equipment, back a minimum of 2 feet from the edge of a trench to prevent anything from falling into it. Never enter a trench unless it has been inspected by a competent person, or until there is a safe way to enter or exit, and until all cave-in protective systems are in place. Test for atmospheric hazards such as low oxygen, hazardous fumes, and toxic gases when the trench is greater than 4 feet deep. Wear warning vests or other high-visibility materials when working near moving equipment or vehicles, and do not stand beneath loads handled by lifting or digging equipment. Keep heavy equipment away from trench edges and identify other sources that might affect trench stability. Locate and mark the exact location of underground utilities such as sewer, water, telephone, or electric lines prior to digging. Keep a safe distance when working near overhead power lines. And use a spotter for any hard-to-see separation distances or in tight areas. Install a barricade or fence around trenches or excavations that are left open to prevent unauthorized access. Remember, incidents involving trench and excavation hazards can often be fatal, so it's important to take all necessary precautions.
When a typical cylinder is filled to its design pressure of 2400 psi, It will contain almost 300 cubic feet of atmospheric pressure gas, or about 160 times the internal volume of the cylinder. This compression of gas represents a tremendous amount of stored energy. If the outlet valve is broken off, the sudden release of compressed gas can turn the cylinder into a missile with energy to shoot through a cinder block wall. In one reported incident, a damaged cylinder penetrated 2 sheet metal walls before becoming airborne and exiting through the roof. The tank reached an altitude of 140 feet before falling back through the building's roof a second time. When a steel cylinder becomes a projectile, it can move with great force, at high speeds, and in unpredictable directions, with the potential to cause serious or fatal injuries.
One of our back safety videos is called the high fives. This one we call the low fives because this video covers 5 important ways to protect your lower back. The lower back is a vulnerable area that requires special attention to spare you painful injuries that can affect your lifestyle for the rest of your life. Follow the low fives every time you pick something up and put it down. Number 1. To pick up an object that is on the floor or lower than the level of your waist, keep your back straight and bend at your knees and hips. Do not bend forward at the waist with your knees straight. This puts too much pressure on the hinge in your lower back. Instead, use a position called the shortstop. This is the same stance that a baseball shortstop takes. Your weight should be balanced on both feet, and they should be at least shoulder width apart. As you bend down to get a grip on the load, use your leg muscles as much as possible. Slightly bend forward at the waist, but keep your back straight. Number 2. Never twist while under load. Your body is not designed to do this, and it often results in injury. Your back muscles meet at your lower spine. When you lift and twist, it puts tremendous pressure on discs in the small part of your lower back. Do this once too often, even with a light weight, and you're asking for trouble in the form of a painful, possibly lifelong injury. Turn your feet. Do not twist at the waist. Twisting with a load in your arms takes your spine out of alignment, and that hurts. Number 3. Before lifting, carefully assess the load. How heavy is it? Does it exceed your personal limitations? Is it too bulky to lift and carry carefully? How far is the load from your body? Can you get close enough to avoid straining? What kind of forces will you have to put on your entire body to get the load up in your arms? Will it involve pulling or twisting? How often are you going to be lifting loads like this? Is your body ready? Muscles and tendons loose and warmed up? Don't skip on an assessment that takes little more than a few seconds. Number 4. Posture. Always keep your back as straight as you can. Slouching or curling your spine weakens the spine and all its support structures. When you are sitting down, tighten your stomach muscles to keep you from slouching. Center your head between your shoulders and don't let it hang forward. Practice keeping your chin up. This will help you center your head. The average adult head weighs about 10 pounds. To get an idea, go pick up a 10-pound bag of sugar or a 10-pound bowling ball. That's a lot of weight on your spine, and poor posture puts a lot of pressure all the way down to the base of your spine. Keep good posture all the time, at work, at home, anywhere. It will keep your back stronger. Number 5. Most back problems develop over time, and when the big injury comes, it's usually the result of many, many small injuries. Over the years, we tend to exceed the capabilities of our muscles, tendons, ligaments, and most important, those vital discs that make up our spine. Lower back injuries can be avoided, but they require you to follow safe lifting rules all the time, not just once in a while. It doesn't matter where you are lifting or moving something, a box at work, a piece of furniture at home, putting a bag of groceries into your car. All can cause tiny tears and traumas to your spine if done incorrectly. Follow safe lifting rules for your whole life, and you will have a healthy back for a lifetime.
Falls from heights are the #1 cause of death in construction. They also make up 1/3 of the on-the-job deaths in the industry. Typically, fall protection videos focus on telling you how to work safely at heights. We thought it would be more fun just to show you the basics of fall protection. I'm Rachel Walla with Ally Safety, and in today's video, we're going to be going over the ABCDs of fall protection. So let's jump right into it. One of the first things you need to know about fall protection is the difference between fall arrest and fall restraint. Fall arrest allows you to fall. It just stops you from hitting the ground. But keep in mind, it doesn't stop you from hitting anything on your way down or swinging in to other objects once you've fallen. Fall restraint restrains you from reaching the edge, even when you really want to get there. That way, it makes it impossible to fall from heights. It's kind of like a human leash. To know which type of fall protection to use, the first step is to get a scope of work and do a quick hazard assessment. Doing a hazard assessment can sound tedious, but it's really just thinking before you start your work. Look at what the potential hazards can be and how you can reduce your risk. A good fall protection plan template can be an easy way to make sure you've thought of everything. Next, plan out the ABCDs of fall protection. A is for anchorage points. When you're looking for an anchor point, a good rule of thumb is to kind of ask yourself if a 3/4 ton pickup truck could hang from that point. Now that may sound like a lot, but remember, the force of the momentum that's built up on a fall combined with our own weight can create a pretty big impact on the anchorage. These are crane pick points, and in this case, they would not be enough to be an anchorage point in the event of a fall. B is for body support. The point of a harness is to distribute the fall forces across the thighs, pelvis, chest, and shoulders to reduce the chance of injury. However, this only works if it's worn correctly. If not, you can seriously injure whatever area takes the full force of the fall. Gentlemen, you may want to pay particular attention to this, especially when you decide to wear the leg straps loose. C is for connectors. Connectors are anything that you use to connect yourself to the anchor point. This can include lanyards, self-retracting lanyards, hooks, or carabiners. The ABCs together make up your personal fall arrest system. The most important thing here is to remember to use it. Unfortunately, in 54% of fatalities, the workers had no access to a personal fall arrest system. Another 23 had access to a personal fall arrest system, but didn't use it. Once you know where the anchor point will be, get the distance from the anchor point to the ground. Then we can do a quick calculation to check the fall clearance. Calculating the fall clearance only takes a minute, and it's much better than wearing around your harness and lanyard all day long, only to realize your lanyard was too long when you suddenly hit the ground. First, take the length of the lanyard. If it's a self-retracting lanyard, use the maximum free fall distance rather than the lanyard length. Add in any deceleration distance, the height of the average worker, and a safety factor of 3 to adjust for an improperly fit harness or any other miscalculations. In this case, the total fall distance could be up to 13.5 feet. Since we know our anchor is at 22 feet, we know we're safe and won't hit the ground. Lastly, D is for descent and rescue. Rescue plans tend to get forgotten about, but remember, suspension trauma can occur in as little as 15 minutes due to limited circulation and blood pooling in the legs. Trauma straps can help maintain circulation and decrease discomfort while waiting for rescue. Even after the rescue, the rush of blood to the heart can cause serious injury and even death. So it's important to have a rescue plan in place that will get a response to you in about 6 minutes. Remember, calling 911 doesn't really count as a rescue plan because often they may not have the equipment to do a rescue at heights. Once you've gathered all your gear, you have a fall protection plan and a fall rescue plan, it's time to inspect your equipment. All equipment needs to be inspected before each use, and at least once annually by a competent person. Inspect the 4 major components. Labels need to be present and fully legible. Hardware needs to be free from rust, pitting, and corrosion. Plastic components should not be damaged, broken, or distorted. There should be no damaged, loose, or broken stitches. Check the webbing for frays, cuts, tears, burns, paint, abrasions, or contaminants that could conceal the fibers. UV damage, like fading, also indicates wear and tear. Hold the harness by the D-ring and shake it out to get any tangles out of the straps. Slip the straps over your shoulders like you're putting on a jacket. When you're done, the D-ring needs to be in the center of your back between the shoulder blades. Put on the leg straps and tighten them. You want enough space that your hand can fit between your leg and the strap, but you want it to be tight enough that if you make a fist, you can't pull it back through. Connect the chest straps in the mid-chest area. If this one isn't connected, it's going to make it so that you can fall forward out of your harness. Also, you want to make sure that these side straps are tight enough that if you fall, this chest strap won't be able to come up and suffocate you. Lastly, connect the waist strap snugly. After all the straps have been connected, make sure that it fits well but still gives you a full range of movement. Okay, now that we've gotten through the ABCDs, let's get to work. And that's how it's done. We're gonna make sure that he gets any care and follow-up that he needs. And then that fall protection that he wore that endured the fall is gonna be taken and re-inspected and recertified before the next use. For the other fall protection that was on site, it's gonna be stored safely until its next use. I hope this video helped to demonstrate some of the basics of fall protection for you. If it was helpful, please hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next time, I'll see you guys later.